Hi guys, it's Jeff at Slavens Racing. This video is about how to install an Xtrig Preload adjuster on a WP shock for a KTM 690 or Husqvarna 701. So this customer sent this to me because he was having a little difficulty with this, and I volunteered to help him out. So I don't have the original preload adjusters on here, and the spring is already off. So you're just gonna have to wing it on that part. Obviously, you remove the spring and then remove those stock preload adjusters before you start to put this one on. So remove the stock preload adjusters before you try to install the Xtrig. So the Xtrig adjuster is a two-piece thing. This is the retaining ring that retains this pin so that the preload adjuster doesn't rotate around the shock body. And so you have to put that on first. Now that piece is actually split. You can see the two seams here, and it's got two Allens. You can actually take that apart and put it on the threaded area, and then just kind of partially screw in these Allens, or you can just screw it on there. Either way works fine. But what you do want to do is remove this pin out of the adjuster before you try to put it on. And it's just got an Allen bolt on the bottom. I think it's a 3mm Allen wrench is what it takes. So I've already put this part way on. And if you have this pin in there, you can see that it would start running into the body up here. So now just put this retaining ring here at the top, very close to the very top of the shock of the threaded area. And then you want to screw this up. Now I want to back up just a little bit here. And one thing you do not want to do is use the adjuster with a T-handle or an 8mm socket and ratchet to screw this up onto the body. Do not do that. There's an O-ring inside of here, and this black piece is separate from the other one, and it does wiggle just a little bit, and inside of there is an O-ring, very tiny little O-ring, and if you don't keep this seated, that O-ring can pop out and get cut, and then you've got a problem. So you should not mess with this adjuster until you get the preload adjuster all the way on into position, get the spring on, get the spring retainers on, because the spring is going to push against the body here, and it's going to hold this all together. Without that, it's got some play, and that O-ring can pop partially out, and then when you turn the adjuster, you're going to cut it. If you do that, that's an installation problem, not a warranty issue. So anyhow, turn this thing up, or thread it up. Until it's very close, you got about one thread in there in between. And then install the pin. It's got the threaded hole here, solid on the other end. And then put just a little Loctite on there. I'm using red, you can use blue if you want. And then tighten that down. Now, since I don't have the bike here, I'm not positive where this needs to be indexed. I don't know if it needs to be over here or over here. You can figure that out on your own, just by how you can access it while it's on the bike with the T-handle. Now guys use these primarily, where these really come in handy on the adventure bikes is you ride the bike, in the, what I call naked, without anything on it, most of the time. And then when you want to go on a little weekend trip or something, you put luggage on it and weight the bike down. Well, then you might want to add some preload to the spring to keep the bike balanced. So that's why guys use these. So anyhow, once that's on there, you can rotate this to where it needs to be, so where this is indexed where you want it to be, and then you can tighten down these Allens. This pin does not have to be touching the shock body here. Can be if that's where you want it to be positioned, but it does not have to be there. And like I said, I urge you to not rotate this until the spring is on. So at this point, you know, the thing is together, slide the spring back onto the body, put the retainers back on the spring, and it's ready to go. I use a spring compressor, something that you guys are not going to have at home. This guy did it with, I think, a couple of screwdrivers and got the spring on there. Not something I'd recommend, but you might need to use some type of a spring compressor or go to a shop and have them install the spring for you. Now this washer here came off, was up against the original preload rings, adjustment rings. So this needs to go back on because you don't want the shock to be riding on the body of this adjuster. It's just going to chew it up. And it wouldn't hurt to put just a very, very thin layer of grease around here. And then put this on, then slide the spring on. I got a little bit ahead of myself a minute ago. And then that's all there is to it. It's very easy installation. On this shock, it is one of the easiest because you can slide it over the end. On the dirt bike shocks, you actually have to take the shaft assembly out of the shock because they've got a big clevis here and this will not fit over it. But the 690 and 701 shock is very, very simple. Once the spring is off, you know, this is a 5-minute operation. And it's a slick product. It works extremely well. These are made in Germany. They're very high quality. They work very well. And they're very handy, like I said, if you're going from a naked bike to a loaded bike for different weekend jaunts or around the world trips, whatever you're doing. That's all for now.